I was born in Trinidad. I grew up in Trinidad. I went to high school in Trinidad, and then I went to Canada for university and was living in Canada when I met Robert and married Robert. And after that, I came to live in Syracuse. In 1979, I was 38 years old. We were living in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and I was working at the Rijksmuseum helping do work on Rembrandt, and we were making a room to explain to the public what the night watch was all about. My major professor when I was in college came, and his wife, and I loved him dearly. But I was very tired and I couldn't go with him to the museum. I felt badly about it, but I was just tired. I just could not move. So I asked another friend to take them. And when we took them to the train station to get the train to the airport, I then said to Robert, I haven't had a shower for the whole week. Would you help me with a shower because I just feel so tired? And when he undressed me to have a shower, he looked at my chest and he said, "Oh my God, I've got to call the doctor. I've got to take you to the doctor." He called his secretary, who was a Dutch woman, and said to her, "My wife has a lump on her breast. She needs to see a doctor." It was the week before Easter, and many places were already closed in the Netherlands, and she got a friend to see us at about 5:30. By then, all of this takes time. And I still didn't have a clue what was wrong with me. I just knew I was very tired. He asked me to undress. I undressed. He came to the room. He took one look at me and said, "Get dressed." Never touched me. And he said, "Come into my office. I need to speak with you and your husband." So he starts pacing the room. And I counted 20 times. So I said, "Dr. Van Dongen, you've just paced the room 20 times. Could you say something?" And then he turned to my husband and said, "Your wife is very ill. Is money a problem?" And naturally, he said no. And he said, "Okay, the best surgeon around is in Germany right now. I'll make a call to him and see if he will come and see your wife." And that is how I realized something was really wrong with me. I still didn't have a clue what it was. But now I'm thinking, boy, I'm really sick. No Dutch will ever say the word kanker, which is what the Dutch word for cancer is. They'd say X has K. Because if they said the word, they were afraid they might get it. It was still the Black Plague for many people. I never knew anyone who had cancer before, to be honest with you. I never knew the full implications of having cancer. And I went in for surgery Monday morning. I spent Sunday night in this private hospital in the Netherlands. And Monday morning, Dr. Van Dongen and Dr. Van Sloten were my doctors. I had two surgeons. And the surgery lasted 11 hours. I was in a coma for a week after. I lost a lot of blood, and I got 6 pints of Dutch blood. So I think the reason for my energy and all of that is because I have Dutch blood in me now. I stayed in this hospital for 1 month because of the blood transfusion and everything. A side note of this blood transfusion, it was in the spring of 79. Just then, a few months after, the whole world came out about AIDS that began in the Netherlands. I was scared because I didn't know if the blood I got was clean or not, because they had not been able to test the blood at that time. So I used to go to the doctor every 6 months to see if I have AIDS. About 3 months later, I went to Dr. Van Sloten and I said to him, "This is a private conversation and it is not patient and doctor. I want to ask you some honest questions." And the question I put to him was, if I was your wife and I had had the surgery you did, and I've had the kind of cancer I had. Will you then subject me to radiation and chemo? Because you butchered me, why do you burn me and poison me? And he turned to Robert and said, it's going to be a miracle if your wife survives the year. I would suggest she does not have radiation and she does not have chemo, but whatever you want to do, whatever she wants to do, just do it and enjoy her company. So I decided, the whole world has already put a nail in my coffin. I said to Robert, let us go someplace where nobody knows where we are. You can well imagine how mad my father was. We took a cottage in Dublin and we spent the summer there. 3 months in the summer. No phone, no connection to anybody. I just disappeared. I didn't want anybody to know where I was. And at the end of that summer, he then said, I'm taking the year off. And we went to India for a year. He said, I can get all the help I want in India. So that was my recovery. When I came back to Syracuse, we went to the doctor and he said, I know the best cancer surgeon in town. I will make sure that she keeps an eye on your wife. So he then introduced me to Dr. Newman. And Dr. Newman followed me from then on and had the regular routine of mammograms, the worst invention under the sun, and blood work. And she was in touch with my surgeon because they wanted to know for the first 5 years how I was doing. I always wanted to go to Africa, and she had a conference in Durban in South Africa. And plus Gandhi was from Durban, and I wanted to go and see where Gandhi lived and all of that. So we went to this conference. It was a conference of the International Association of Surgeons. And she was very active in the American Surgical Society. And at this meeting, there were doctors who were honored. And I looked at the name, and one of the doctors was one of my surgeons. I go, wow, I've got to go and see him. So after all the honors and all of that, I went up to him and I said, hello, Dr. Van Sloten. Do you remember me? And he looks at me, and he looks at me. And he was in a wheelchair. He said, can I stand and hug you? And he said, I never thought I will ever see you alive. That would have been about 5 years ago. I just zipped up because everybody expected me to die. And I did not ever think about it. I wanted to live. And people would look at me and go, how are you? Are you okay? In this pathetic way. I go, sure, I'm okay. And so I never talked about it to anyone. And my father was absolutely livid with Robert. No, you must take her to America, the best doctors in America. America know what to do with cancer. Of course, he didn't think the Netherlands had doctors. I hated to wear a bra. I always hated to wear a bra. But after I had my mastectomy, I had to wear a bra to go out because, you were flat on one side. I didn't like the look of it. As far as my husband was concerned, he didn't care whether I had reconstruction or not. It didn't affect our marriage life or anything of the sort. He still loved me. But after he died, I had a reconstruction. Basically, it was then safe for me to have a reconstruction. And secondly, I felt I wouldn't have to wear a bra anymore. The surgeon said that I should not have any reconstruction or implant. Should the cancer appear again, it would be easier to detect and easier to do surgery. And I listened to him. I really believed everything he said, except that I was going to die in a year, which I'm still here. So this is the longest year of my life. And Dr. Newman went along with that. And then this young, handsome doctor came into town named Tony DeBoni. She sent me to him to do the reconstruction. And he did my reconstruction, which was the flap, and that was involved. They took fat from my tummy, made an incision on the side of me and across my tummy, took the tissue from there to make the breast. But then I didn't have the skin to make to cover the area because the breast is now expanded and I didn't have the thing. So they took it from my groin because the color matched the breast. They had to get the color to match. So it's so funny. And then they couldn't have any tissue to make a nipple. So I told the doctor I was going to get a tattoo to make the nipple, and he begged me not to. But eventually I did. I got a tattoo to make a nipple because I had no flesh to make a nipple.
And then you showed it to me. When I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, I came to see you and you showed it to me.
And told you there's life after cancer, and you can even have a breast.
That was life-changing for me, Gloria. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was, whatever I did, you suffered whatever it is. And then when I recover from anything that's painful, I forget. My system is that I don't remember the pain. I don't remember what I went through. And it's just amnesia for me. All the stuff I went through. And I see the positive, and I was showing everybody. Anybody came to visit me, said, come and see my new breast. I have one daughter. Her name is Beth. Because I had breast cancer when I was under 40, Dr. Newman said to her, you should have mammogram often. So every year she went for mammogram, and her doctors and the insurance said to her, we don't pay for mammogram under 40, under 50 or something like that. And she said, no, I was told I must have a mammogram. So she went every year for a mammogram, and this year she went and she had a mammogram. And the doctor said to her, it doesn't look too good. We would keep an eye on it. Well, of course, nobody kept an eye on it. A year later, when she went for her mammogram, they said, oops, you have breast cancer. I had never had to deal with anybody with a double mastectomy. And it was so difficult for her because she couldn't get herself up. She couldn't lie down on her own. She couldn't go to the bathroom. And one of my dear friends came to Washington to help me with Beth, help with the recovery. And it was very painful to see how to deal with a person who couldn't use their arms. And she had the BRCA test, the same with me. It is not in our genes or anything, but we both had cancer. It's now 5 years, and she's cancer-free, and we are going to London to celebrate. I'm happy. Well, sort of, Robert died, and I'm single, but on the whole, I'm quite happy. I'm healthy. I feel good. I think I'm cancer-free, and if I'm not, tough luck. Think positive, and you will succeed. You will survive. The doctors didn't know it all. That much I can tell you. I had a year to live, and I'm still here. Basically, to let other women know if you have breast cancer, you can have a good life after. With good care and positive thinking and enjoying every day, you will live to see another day.